physical.
So we've got here ourselves, yeah, and also 4 people, yeah, and
Shall we try and show?
yes, they can see you, and we'll try to show you them, yeah,
We have so many ties here on my computer, but here we go. So maybe we should try to introduce ourselves, shall we?
Yes, I think yes.
You go first, easier.
If you've got time, yes, if you've got time, I want to get
Sweet for liking.
so let's introduce ourselves, yeah.
We're not scholars.
We're not scholars. She's the scholar here. Come on.
All right, yeah. Yes, so in a sense, it's just a very nice coincidence, a miraculous coincidence that for your Skype, very special Skype evening. We have so many people, yeah. And well, okay, and we would like each other to introduce ourselves to each other.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm Rosamund Hurling.
Hello.
I'm a student from Boston. I'm currently here.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool.
Well, she's here for 6 months. I'll tell you what I found out because I'm fascinated by what she's doing. She's here for 6 months and she's studying the theme in Russian literature of suicide. Okay. Okay. And number one, and this is directly through the authors or also through images in the books of these authors. And so we were talking about that. And I thought it was most
About
fascinating.
suicide. What is about suicide?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, because in Russian literature, in Russian literary life, it's a very special theme. Yeah, because lots of Russian writers and poets took their own lives, especially in the 20th century, and even before.
It's similar to Japan, where in the 19th century many writers also took their lives.
Yeah,
like,
well,
Akutagawa and Soseki and others. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess they were doing it for different reasons. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
In Japan, it was the adjustment to a sudden modern society from the old Japanese feudal society. So it was just, I think that had a lot to do with the maybe.
But then also, I mean,
Shock to the system.
again, I'm no expert, so I talk from my. But in Japan, you also had, the kamikazes. So it was not just one part of society where you have intellectuals, which were, so very repressed. But in Japan, it's also, this concept that among the militaries, right, in the military
Right.
elite, right, or also in the corporate world, if you have not delivered what you were supposed to deliver, then there is this concept of honor. There's this concept of honor, and then you commit suicide.
Right.
So it's a different twist, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I'm becoming the expert of suicide.
I've been dealing with that for a while. The actions are always fun.
So,
Okay, I'm
so in
going
the
to.
case of Russia,
Huh?
what's the reason? What's the reason behind the cases in Russia or in the Soviet Union or?
Well, I think there are multiple factors.
Right.
Because it's not entirely there's a temptation to say that it's a purely 20th century phenomenon that has to do with the change of power and with repression, but with authors you definitely see an increase in the 20th century, but with regard to like literary images of suicide, it starts much earlier. And so I think some of it, because of the beginning of Russian literature with those things, very end of the 18th and then 19th century, I think some of the change, like the cultural change, is also a factor that you're talking about. But obviously in Russia it wasn't as fast in the 19th century, not as kind of a snap turn like in Japan. So I'm still teasing all this out.
Even in old Japan, like love suicides, this is a common theme. So it's not considered negatively really. So it's
Yeah. And there's,
unlike the rest.
I've also run
That's
into
also
this idea of like honesty, but combined, not honesty is not great. We're going to talk about translation. Honesty as a translation of chestness, I don't think is a perfect leap over, because there's also some of that concept of honor, but in a completely different way than Japan, and the idea of honoring oneself. There's something almost Roman a little bit that I've run into a couple times. If you want to talk about more societies with lots of like fixed ideas, or not even fixed, but like dynamic ideas about suicide, ancient Rome springs to mind immediately, and I think there's a little of that. And even in one of Dostoevsky's novels, he talks about a quality of Roman citizenship, about this like conspiratorial circles, demons, or what's this from the essay, depending on how to approach that. So there's a lot going on. I'm still in the preliminary stages of this.
One question, sorry, same question.
Thank you.
But in the Western world, right, and in the whatever Judeo-Christian traditions, suicide has a bad connotation, right? So I'm wondering, within the Oriental society, the connotation is different, right? Because if you commit suicide, for example, the church, I don't know if it's still true, but you will not be granted a burial.
Yeah, that's
That's
the case.
true.
And I don't know if it's still true, but you will not be granted. So there is this negative connotation.
Of
So
course,
maybe,
there is
in Oriental culture, I don't know if there are other contexts where it doesn't have this negative connotation. Maybe you can tell us.
Oh, yeah. So love, suicide, maybe they couldn't have the relationship. It was against maybe the society for some reason, but then that was a way out, I guess. Maybe. But an honorable way out of suicide, I think, in Japan. So
As opposed
maybe
to
unlike the Christian West, maybe.
where the association is, you even hear people talk about cowardice, which
Well, I'm afraid it's too
We're gonna
vast.
off
to
topic.
talk. No, it's not. I'm just it's so different. But maybe other people would also like to introduce.
We have an exchange program in the city with a college called Elms College. It's in, I guess it's outside of Boston somewhere. Yeah, a college in Massachusetts. So students come for 3 weeks a year. Yeah. So it's
coincidences.
Oh my God. Well, people say something about yourselves. Yeah, please.
All right, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Gabriela Sotanza. I was born in Argentina. I was raised in Italy. I was a resident in the US. I worked for a long, long time in finance, and 2 years ago I left the financial world. That's it.
Thank you.
wait, you said Argentina.
Yes, I was born there.
You're Argentinian.
Yes.
You're Italian.
Well,
Italian.
I
Or
have,
in Argentina.
yeah, I have 3 passports now.
Passports, very complicated.
This is how it comes about. I was born in one place, raised in another one, and I live in another one. So that's how it comes.
I was born in New York, but then moved to Japan at age 7, and then moved back here moved back to the US age 14, then moved back to Japan age 30.
Okay.
So I've been here ever since. Yeah.
And why did your parents go to Japan? For one thing.
My parents were missionaries, Presbyterian missionaries, so we were on the island here, Shikoku. That's the fourth largest of the Japanese islands, the smallest of the main 4 islands. And then we were on the island Honshu, the largest island. My father was a minister at an interdenominational church in Kobe for a few years there. So we were in the countryside and then here. And then I came back here to the countryside 30 years ago. So, smaller island.
It's amazing. There's a missionary. Yeah, you never know. Yeah.
But so when I was a kid, it was a voyage by ship. We went from San Francisco to Yokohama, and then around to Kobe. In the days before, I guess the ship was cheaper back then than the airplane. So. The mission were paid.
Yeah. And so did they have to go back to go back home, or just so they always knew that they were going to Japan just for a few years, and after that they would go back?
I don't think they knew at the beginning. Actually, my father, I think if the salary had been better, maybe he would have stayed. He was worried about the salary and income, and then also about putting us into school in the U.S. as well. But I think it was actually it's a very good school here in Japan, the Canadian Academy International School. So I wanted to stay. I was in junior high school. I wanted to stay. But then my parents wanted to go back. Then right after that, I think the position he was in, I think they increased the salary or something. So maybe they would stay longer. Things would be different. Because a lot of missionaries stayed for years and years.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So, but my parents were only here for 7 years. Not so long.
Right. Yeah. So going back to Japan was your own decision. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so I came back on my own. But I always wanted to come back. So.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Daniel has a wife and two kids. Yeah. Well, of course they are adults. Yeah. So could you tell the people what your wife does, because it's also fascinating. I mean, for me, she's.
My wife now, you're saying? What?
No. What she
So
does,
my-
yeah, and well, because she's also into some kind of religious work as far as.
My wife works at a Shinto shrine. She's kind of a shrine priestess, but it's only about 1 week every month. She's been in for the last 15 years, up in Yokohama near Tokyo. So she was actually born in shrine precincts here in Japan. She went to a Christian school, high school, and she was Christian initially. Then she switched to Buddhism, and then she was interested in Hinduism, and finally she returned to her own, well, Shinto religion, I guess, Japanese native religion. So
Yeah.
I was brought up Christian. We had a Buddhist wedding.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Okay. So, guys, would you like to say something about the first? Would you?
Okay.
Just to say hi.
Hello. My name is Olga, and I guess I was raised in Russia, but I spent some educated in US, and I spent some 12 years in US, and now my husband and me and my 2 children we live here in Moscow.
where were you in the U.S.?
In New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was born in New York State, in the Finger Lakes, West New York. But yeah, New York's a nice city. It's quite different from the rest of the U.S.
Yeah, I think it's what drew me initially to New York. It's multiculturalism, and where
Right.
any foreigner feel at home. That's basically you can find your own
Yeah, so New York,
island.
right. Yeah, it's quite different from anywhere else, I think, in the United States, because it's so multicultural like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're together.
No, I'm together. Gabriela is my friend. She's visiting me here. Okay. So she's staying here, and so we decided, we were going around and exploring Moscow. She came to visit me a couple of years ago, but we spent most of the time, we went to St. Petersburg, and then we went to Suzdal. But this time, it's different. We decided to explore here Moscow, and since she's very interested in Russian classical literature, so I proposed that we take a trip to Pasternak's museum here.
Yeah, isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
So we're all together here.
So
Okay.
your museum is how far from Moscow?
So,
You're right
about
up
how many
Moscow.
kilometers? Yes, as far as I know, it's about 25 kilometers. Depends on.
It's 15.
35.
So,
Yeah,
well, yes,
it's
20, about 25 from the center, 15 from the major circle road.
Yeah, from Kart, from the ring.
From the ring, yeah. Well, and for example, when I was a kid, I used to live here in this colony, in this writer's colony, with my grandparents, and actually it so happened that we lived in Pasternak's first house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. not together with after Pasternak, long after Pasternak, yeah. And well, it was the same, yeah, 25 minutes by train from one of Moscow railway stations, yeah, and then a very nice 15-20 minute walk from the station to your dacha, well, and you are there, and maybe later we'll be able to just to show you some trees. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe from the window. Yeah, because there are still lots of very high conifers. Yeah, mostly pine trees. Yeah, and it's very very beautiful here at the moment. Yeah. And what's the weather like your end? Yeah.
Oh, it's very nice. It's almost dusk now, but I can't. I'm trying to turn this around. Wait. Let me open the. Oops. Well, this is the campus, but yeah, there's some tall trees. And, hard to see really, because computers connected to many things, but
Yeah.
It's a little bit gray today, lights, because it'll get dark in another half an hour. So, but yeah, we're temperate. It's not so bad. It's not so. Maybe it's about 80 degrees or so now. It was 90, earlier, but like the evenings are cool and the mornings are cooler. But it's getting quite warm. But a lot of it's quite mountainous, this prefecture, and a lot of there are rice fields everywhere around the campus, and also rivers, and yeah, it's mostly agricultural fishing area. We're about 20 minutes drive from the ocean in the Pacific.
Yeah. I suggest that everybody adds Daniel as a friend on Facebook, because he shows very beautiful pictures of his area and other areas of Japan. Yeah, yes. And also Daniel is a musical, so he's a musician. Yeah, and he plays. Could you tell us again what do you call this instrument? Yeah, well, because I forget the word.
It's called the shakuhachi. So it's traditional Japanese flute. The bamboo. Bamboo flute. Some flutes. Let's see. It was played by Buddhist monks in the Edo period. So like play a sound. Just a sound.
Yeah, maybe 5 sounds. Yeah, so if you could welcome us as the.
But yeah, it's made of the roots of the. Well, this is kind of the root of the bamboo here, and yeah, and the bamboo notes. It has 5 holes, and yeah, it's very simple construction, I guess, with lacquer inside of the flute. Let's see.
So very
But
beautiful.
yeah, it's one of the traditional instruments of Japan. So, yeah, I play with koto. Do you know koto? Koto is a zither, kind of 13 strings zither. Koto, this instrument here. Yeah, the koto, and then the shamisen is 3-stringed lute. So those 3 are the kind of 3 of the instruments that are often played together in Japan. This is an old photo, but yeah, the photo.
So, is it an ancient instrument? It's a very
They're both from originally from China, and they were instruments in the Gagaku Orchestra, the kind of supposed to be the oldest orchestra in the world, which came to Japan around the 9th century or so. And later the instruments kind of took their own separate paths, but they came originally from China. The flute and the koto. Yeah, the shamisen, three-string lute, came from Okinawan area, from the south, maybe around the 1600s or so. So that was forward. But
very beautiful, amazing, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I was wanting us just to I mean we could go back to the instruments a bit later. I mean because let's read some poems, okay? Yeah, and after that we could go back to instruments, yeah, into Daniel's own poems, yeah, because they're also very beautiful, yeah. And so our invitation was not only about Pasternak, but also for one thing, it was about Daniel and also about Pasternak. Let's put it like this, yeah. Right.
And can you give a sense of what is the time frame? How long do you usually stick in?
Yes, of course. Yeah, well, it's a bit longish, preface because because we were not hoping to have so many people here today. Yeah. Well, it's just about half an hour talking about Pasternak's poems. Yeah, and after that, I think it's about 40 minutes of Daniel's own poems. Yeah, so if everybody has time, yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
but of course everybody can leave any moment,
Okay.
yes.
I don't want to be rude, but
No, it's fine.
Thank you.
Because,
yes.
I was thinking.
so you sent me some translation, several
Yes.
translations, and
Yes,
So,
yes,
the-
we were exchanging some translations because and of course there are many more translations on the internet and lots and lots
Right.
of versions. Yeah, well, because we're not native speakers and not I don't know, we're kind of dumb sometimes. Yeah, because we can feel that poetry is very beautiful, but we can't, wrap our heads over all these translations and decide which translation is better. So we wanted to just to ask what you think about these things. Yeah, and
different translations.
And also I was wanting to say just a few words about some poems, but only a few words. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So which one are we going to start with?
Maybe we should start with Winter Night because we have only one translation of that, and then moving over to August because we have two, and then finish it up with Wind, which is shorter. What do you think? Is it okay?
Well,
Winter Night.
Yes.
So shall we start with that one?
With Winter Night.
Yes.
Yes, of course, we could start with Winter Night.
Can we also make some observations?
Yes, absolutely.
okay.
It would be great.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So
Absolutely, yes.
shall we read it? Or?
I just I wanted first I wanted to ask Daniel. As far as I remember, I remember you saying that it was one of your favorite poems. No, am I right?
The Winter Night. Yeah, the ones that I read of Pasternak's, I really like this one. Yes.
We thought that it would be good to read it first in Russian, because some people here Russian.
I wanted to hear the rhythm of the
Yeah,
Russian.
and you hear the rhythm. Yeah. Мело-мело по всей земле, во все пределы. Свеча горела на столе, свеча горела. Как летом роем мушкара летит на пламя. Слетались хлопья со двора, как онные раны. Метель лепила на стекле, кружки и стрелы. Свеча горела на столе, свеча горела. На озаренный потолок ложились тени, скрещенье рук, скрещенье ног, судьбы скрещенье. И падали два башмачка со стуком на пол, и воск слезами с ночника на платье капал. И все терялось в снежной мгле, седой и белый. Свеча горела на столе, свеча горела. На свечку дуло из угла, и жар соблазна вздымал, как ангел, два крыла крестообразно. Мело весь месяц в феврале, и то и дело. Свеча горела на столе, свеча горела. It was written in 1946. Well,
1946.
yes. Could you also maybe read it aloud so we get the rhythm? So, I mean, if you like the translation, could you read it?
Okay, yeah, I'll read it aloud. I just, for this one, I think I only got the one. I just got the one, or this one. For the August, I got 3 translations.
Oh,
Yeah. So I read this one, okay.
yeah, okay.
It swept on all the earth, at every turning. A candle on the table flared, a candle burning. Like swarms of midges to a flame in summer weather. Snowflakes flew up towards the pane in flocks together. Snow-molded arrows, rings and stars, the pane adorning. A candle on the table shone, a candle burning. Entangled shadows spread across the flickering ceiling. Entangled arms, entangled legs, and doom, and feeling. And with a thud against the floor, 2 shoes came falling, and drops of molten candle wax like tears were rolling. And all was lost in snowy mist, gray-white and blurring. A table on the candle stood, a candle burning. The flames trembling in the draught, heat of temptation. It lifted up 2 crossing wings, as of an angel. All February, the snowstorms swept, each time returning. A candle on the table wept, a candle burning.
Yeah, and this translation, it is special because it was made by Pasternak's sister, Lydia Slater. Yeah, you can see her name there. Yeah, and
Right.
I think a very good translation because it really keeps the rhythm and, you know, like, usually very hard
How many-
to translate the...
How many years difference between Pasternak and his sister?
sorry?
How many years difference between Pasternak and his sister?
12 or 13, I guess.
12 or 13. So she was younger than younger sister. So-
Yeah. Well, okay, so if you have just any comments on this translation, it will help. Yeah.
Can I share?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, so it was actually, it's an embarrassing thing to say, but yesterday was the first time I read this translation ever, because I was more interested in wind and all this and didn't look that one up. And I was amazed at, the fact that the rhythm is preserved and it's very there. And also what is not there in the original version, I mean the Russian one, is the sound s, which is repeating the alliteration, which makes this, it vivid, like the blizzard. It describes, and this is very interesting and astounding. This is the first thing that came to my mind when I was reading it yesterday, so I was impressed by that. And yeah, so that's it. That's my comment.
Yeah, it's interesting that like the translation, but then it keeps, like you said, it keeps the rhythm and it has a kind of got this hypnotic kind of the candle on the table flare, the candle burning kind of repetition of that phrase. And,
what did you read first? This poem or the novel? I mean, because some people they start from poems, even if they have the whole book. I know that lots
this
of
is in the
people.
right. This is in the novel, right? So I haven't read the novel yet. So
Yeah, well, it's Dr. Живаgo's poems, Yuri Живаgo's poems, they are at the end of the novel.
At the end.
Yeah. But I can say not in all editions, because there are editions where there are no poems at all. Yeah, and so it's kind of weird. Yeah, you know he's a poet, but you don't have his poems there.
Sorry, I couldn't understand.
No, I mean in some pocket editions, in smaller editions of Dr. Живаgo, you don't have these poems at the end.
Oh, really? Some don't have the poems. So these are poems not in the midst of the novel somewhere, but at the end.
No, they are at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this is why I'm asking, because in the Soviet Union at first, some poems were published, some poems from the novel. Yeah. Then the novel itself wasn't published. Yeah.
Okay.
So people had a kind of exposure only to Dr. Живаgo's poems and only to some of them. That was in the 50s. Yeah. And then the whole, but of course people read them in manuscript. Yeah, and samizdat. Do you know the word samizdat?
What is that? It means publication in some newspaper-like form or something? Or what? I'm not sure exactly.
Well, samizdat, now it's a term, yeah, and scholars who study Russian literature of the 20th century under the Soviet Union, they use this word. Yeah, can you spell it there? Samizdat. Just maybe. Yes, yeah, there, yeah. And it means that people would rewrite some poems or even novels sometimes by hand, or they would type them on typewriters, yeah, and they distributed them among their friends, and then to friends of friends, among friends of friends, yeah, and so the wider and wider circles, yeah, and the more and more people would read these poems.
Is that because
the novel.
the poems were of Pasternak or other poets were forbidden by the authorities? And they
Yes, because of this, yeah, and mostly because they were forbidden. Yeah, but sometimes an edition could be very limited. Yeah, and then people would use a typewriter to make more copies. Yeah, that happened with many books actually.
We have one, in fact, in our personal collection here at the museum, but we once had it in our exhibition dedicated to the Nobel Prize, and now we're having this new exhibition which will be in November. It will be dedicated to the first edition of Dr. Живаго ever. That one was the Italian one. So we I guess might show it again. This little copy of the book from a personal collection.
Yes. Would you like to say something about this translation? No, that's Winter Night.
I find certain aspects of this translation frustrating.
Like what?
Like in the fourth stanza, entangled shadows spread across the flickering ceiling, entangled arms, entangled legs, and doom and feeling. The last line, I don't think the image of the entangled arms, entangled legs, and doom and feeling, I think works very well in English, but it also, that last line doesn't sound at all like the Russian line, or it introduces a different idea, which I have kind of a mixed reaction to.
So the Russian is the feeling is quite different.
Well, the Russian, is, if you literally translate it, is like entangled arms, entangled legs, entangled fates.
Okay.
So the word
Yeah, the doom.
has a negative connotation.
Doom.
Yeah, well, because doom is negative, yes? Do you mean because doom is,
You are doomed.
Yes, yeah. Well, so it's a kind of interpretation in his translation. Yeah, well, because he's thinking about their not just sudba, yeah, so not good fate, yeah, well, but about
In general.
this is something sinister
Yeah.
immediately, yeah.
Yeah, and to handle fate and doom is quite a different feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get the connection, but it's like, what?
Yeah.
And doom is not really, doom is almost not comical, but it's sweet. Yeah.
It's a very extreme word.
Yeah. So
It's
are you saying that it's kind of
Doom.
clumsy? So I mean, to have doom in this line, yeah, and, that it doesn't fit with other words.
I'm not sure. I don't think it's clumsy. I think it works very well on its own. But I think that when you put it right next to the Russian, you get two very different stanzas. It doesn't feel like a translation so much as a very loose kind of change.
I wonder when the translation was made actually, because well, we know that this is well, technically Živago's poetry, but we also know some, well, according to Pasternak's lover Ivinskaya, we know that this poem was written while they were on their way. I mean, the idea came while they were on their way to well, another place similar to that one, I guess, which we have in Sokol. This one is the settlement for writers, and that one was the settlement and is still for artists. So they were going there and they got lost. They were looking for their friend's house, and they saw a candle burning. And thus, probably that wasn't even the one they were looking for, but anyways, this kind of provoked the imagery for the poetry. And that one was written in 1946, and while they were like so much in love and everything was evolving, but in 1949 they would break up, and she would be sent to prison for the connection to Pasternak. So we have the documents and everything. It's still we see that the persecution was just based on well, nothing much, like some propaganda. Well, as it used to be, like 58th penal code article. So the doom happened after all, and then she would come back and they would reconnect and still be together till his death. But you know, there was this episode when he had to break up with her, and after that.
So this poem, sorry, it was written before she was sent to prison.
Yes,
is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually it was written before the whole novel was there. Yeah, it was, he just started to write the novel, but in the novel, this image of the candle is very important. Yeah, and so, well, he didn't feel obliged, yeah, to just to be, you know, logical. Yeah. Well, and Gabriela, do you want to say anything about this poem?
The poem.
Not about
I'm
the
still thinking
translation.
of Bast. I'm still thinking of Pasternak, and I was telling you that they persecuted him through her. That's what I was thinking, and I was thinking what we were talking before, that when I was asking you, couldn't he do something more towards, you know? And I'm just speculating towards this woman who, in a way, sacrificed herself for this man. Because what she went through, I understand she was a dissident, and you said, well, she knew what she was getting into. It was a conscious decision. But I think that many times in life, you don't know what you're getting into. You have an idea, but you don't know that you're going to be persecuted that much, you know. So to say, well, you know, you chose it, I think it's a strong statement that she chose it. I don't know if she knew what she was going to get into, that level of persecution, because I mean, being sent to a camp, I mean, if you tell me, well, love this man and you're going to be sent to a camp, I would say, no, thank you.
I'm out. I'm out.
Yes, I'm out. You know, to be realistic, and so I'm not sure that, you know, one can cut so clearly stuff. But it really, when I was reading this stuff, it really struck me how much these women suffered. And now that you tell me also that at the end she could not even see him And one of the interpretation is, well, you know, he was saying no. I'm thinking, well, most likely maybe the wife didn't want him to see her.
Well, but
I know we will
we
never
don't have
know.
enough information.
I know.
A lot
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
speculations on
Yes.
that.
I know there are lots of speculation, but what strikes me again
Uh-huh.
is the amount of suffering of this woman.
It's
going to a
it was
camp, you know.
huge.
Yeah, going to a camp and over, and I was thinking, wow, I mean, how did she manage
She was
that?
sent twice, is that right? She was
Yeah,
sent to
yeah,
prison
yeah, yeah.
twice.
Yes, and then she comes back and they're back together, and I'm thinking, wow, and she's so brave. So that's the thing. But then the other thing I was thinking of was like he was saying, well, he has this, you know, and I don't want to sound a feminist here, but say so he has his wife on the one hand, and then he has the muse, okay, and the muse is the one who's suffering like hell. While he's managing, he cannot do anything because whatever he does, he's blah blah blah. So I don't know. There's a part of me saying, yeah, but she's the one who's putting up with the camp and all the stuff while you're living here in the dacha, and you're not going in the dacha, but she's in the camp. So I'm not too happy about that. And then I was thinking, well, you know, maybe, but this is why I was asking you. I was saying, can you give me a different reading of the situation, okay? I was saying, give me a different perspective because, as I said, I just see her enormous suffering, and as I said, he was in the dasha, and the dacha here. But then I was thinking, well, what did she get out of him? I said, well, I was thinking, well, he gives to he's with his wife and children and stuff like that, but he gives her the book. He said, okay, you're going to be Lara, and you're going to live forever, because people will remember you live forever, which goes back, in fact, to one of these poems, which I was thinking, which is Win, which is, I'm no longer, but you live on. And I was thinking, maybe this is what she gave to this woman who suffered hell for him. Said, I'm no more, but you live on, because you're going to be Lara forever.
Well, maybe, but it's, I guess it's also kind of a too straightforward, interpretation of the events here, because first of all, he never said that Lara is Iviska and Iviska is Lara.
Yeah,
So
okay, but this is how you interpret it.
well, yes, because of course he thought about.
He did actually. He did say that she was Lara, but well, that was published. In the article I was talking about yesterday, by the way, it was published there. It was very straightforward. That I had several Laras in my youth, but there's only one in my older days. But when his wife would ask him about who Lara was, he would say, "Do you want to be Lara? It's you." So
what a brave man! He was making happy everybody.
It wasn't that straightforward actually, but they would want to be Laras, so he had to come up with someone.
And there's also the interpretation that Lara is Russia.
Yeah, there are so many of them. That Lara is revolution, whatnot. So.
Yeah, well, anyway, so can you identify with Pasternak this situation? I can't. Yeah, well, just I wouldn't be able to find a healthy balance in this kind of mess. Yeah, and so once again, I thought that he made the best of it. And he acted as well as he could. Yeah, and if I had to do something with my two wives, I'm not sure that I'd be better than he did. He was.
She felt like he had certain obligations, he had children, right? And the first wife, who was there was no passion anymore, right? But there was certain obligations, right? And then there was this Ivinskaya, right, Olga, and so that's where his really true love and passion happened. But then, maybe he had this duality where he couldn't really, he had his wife on one hand and the family, and
It reminds me, this is what I was thinking, now I sound like a feminist, right? I was thinking that
So I read.
No, you just talk. Just a second.
I read somewhere that his wife confronted his mistress at one point, or something like that. I'm not sure.
I don't know, I was thinking that men could get away with these sort of situations, okay? And because also the analyst, Carl Gustav Jung, right, who had many affairs, so he had his wife and the children, and then he had this other woman, Tom Wolfe, who was his lover for many years, and so on. And then it was the same situation, well, I have my obligations, but then I have my passion here, so that's the way how it works out. Anyway, this is a digression from this, but it's always important to me to put in okay, this is the man, these are the times, this is how he lived his life, these are the anyway.
Yeah.
But what I thought about the poem, and then I cannot say anything about the translation because clearly, I don't speak French. But what strikes me is the imagery. The imagery of very simple daily life and how these little details are translated into this beautiful poem. Because again, as you were saying, when entangled shadows spread across the flickering ceiling, I thought it was beautiful. Just this very little detail how he translates it. And then there are other parts also. The drops of molten candle wax, like tears were rolling. Again, these very, very little details which are so beautifully translated in these things, which tells you about, the high level of sensitivity of this person who's able to observe these very things of daily life and translating a poem. That's what strikes me. Anyway.
Yeah.
May I ask, Raymond, you did mention that you had several illustrations here. So what are others?
The other one is in the last stanza on this page. It's not like the last stanza, but the second to last. Flames trembling in the draft, heat of temptation. It lifted up two crossing wings as of an angel. I think in the Russian original the images are switched, so it says like an angel it lifted up two wings like a cross. And I think putting which line goes last puts the emphasis differently. Like it is in English the more important thing here seems to be to me that the fact that it's angelic, whereas in the Russian the cross image is the more important.
There's an angel. Maybe it was like kind of a dark angel. Yeah, well, because talking about temptation, and this line, I always thought that it's a bit ambiguous in Russian as well. And this ambiguity, it survives here in the translation. I thought, but once again, I can't feel fully in full what it is like in English. Yeah. So you say that something is wrong here.
I mean, I don't want to say something is wrong with it, with a strong stance like that. Just that, and the idea of crossing wings, I think, is a little bit different than wings, line break, cross form. And I'm not sure, I think the idea of of cross and temptation and the crucifixion idea here doesn't come through as strongly. But I can't totally feel the Russian version either, so I don't know.
I can also say that.
Because it really is slipped in here, как ангел. It's like a small mansion, which you can see through punctuation actually, and the place of it in the sentence. And here it is indeed emphasized strongly, right?
Yeah.
Yes, maybe. Well, but I've just read. Actually, I read it yesterday. That it wasn't it wasn't his favorite poem from Dr. Живаго, and partly because most of the people immediately, they would say, "Oh, what a great poem!" Yeah, and especially women. Yeah, and but I also thought. That maybe he didn't like this mention of temptation and angels and all this stuff because it's not clear in the poem. His complicated thought is not clearly complicated. Yeah. You can't be sure what he meant here. Yeah. Yes. Well, and just because it always takes so long that maybe. Maybe could we just take another poem? Yeah. So let me say just a few words about the wind. Yeah, the storm wind. Yeah. Okay. Do you have it here? Yeah, wind.
It's the first.
Well, actually, I just wanted. I didn't know about you, but I was thinking. I was talking to Anya, and I thought that writing this poem, yeah, it's also Dr. Живаgo's poem. Yeah, one of his poems. Yeah. But I thought that writing this poem, Wind, Ветер, sich, поэтом. Actually, we've got another person here, the director of the museum. Would you come and say hello to Daniel? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. That he might have been thinking about one of his friends because. You know, in the 20th century, we are thinking about four major poets. Yeah, it's Pasternak, and also Akhmatova, and Tsvetaeva, and Mandelstam. Yeah. And they were kind of friends, but of course their relationships, because they were poets, yeah, so they were also very complicated. Yeah, well, but so the fact is that Marina Tsvetaeva, she took her own life in 1941. Yeah, and I can't be sure. Ты не помнишь, где там, так сказать, есть такие сведения, что Пастернак думал о Цветаевой? Я просто не нашла ссылки.
Вот где это прописано?
Ну нет,
Yeah,
есть
well,
они, да, есть, но
So,
это надо специально.
we don't remember the sources, but he could have been thinking not only about Dr. Живаго, about his life, but also and his Lara, yeah, but also Pasternak thinking about Tsvetaeva, yeah, and just it's a small extension for you, well, because Tsvetaeva, lots of her poems, they include wind somehow, yeah, so it was her element, yeah, and and I'll just send you some links to the site where you can read more poems by Tsvetaeva about other two great poems of the 20th century. Yeah, well, because usually people know Pasternak because of this Живаго affair and because of Lara and blah blah blah. Yeah, and not blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean in the best sense of the word. Yeah, yeah. But normally people don't normally read other poems, but they are poets, but they are also great. Okay, yeah. So
Okay.
that's
Shall we read it?
Okay, yes, yeah. So
I will
let's celebrate this poem. Anya, can you
Celebrate. I can read it in Russian.
Yeah, or anyway, можешь прочесть стихотворение по-русски? Почему? Ну ладно, мы все тут вместе.
По-русски.
Давай, конечно, по-русски, да, по-русски. Да. Right, so what's your name once again?
Ветер. Я кончился, а ты жива. И ветер, жалуясь и плача, раскачивает лес и дачу. Не каждую сосну отдельно, а полностью все дерева, со всей далью беспредельной, как парусников кузова, на глади бухты корабельной. И это не из удальства и не из ярости бесцельной, а что в тоске найти слова тебе для песни колыбельной.
Beautiful. I didn't understand it, but beautiful.
Yes, in Russian it's very beautiful. And once again, just a few words. What did you think about this translation? Did you like it? Does it work in English as a poem? I mean,
Read it first? Shall we read it first?
yeah, yes. Let's read it first. Yeah. Да. Wait, Yanya. Yeah, could you read the poem? Yeah.
But I'm not sure I can render the rhythm and everything correctly. I am no more, but you live on, and the wind whining and complaining is shaking house and forest, straining not single fir trees one by one, but the whole wood, all trees together, with all the distance far and wide, like sailors' yachts in stormy weather, when moored within a bay they lie. And this not out of wanton pride of fury bent on aimless running, but to provide a lullaby for you with words of grief and longing. Well, rhythmically it seems okay, right?
Well, it's not only okay, but once again it reproduces, I guess, rhythm of the poem in Russian. Yeah. And once again, it's Lydia Pasternak's latest translation.
Yeah, so I found that Lydia's translations, and I think I saw it somewhere, like in an analysis or something, that she put it like first ahead of everything to render to give the rhythm, the correct rhythm, because of the melodic sound of his poetry was the most significant to her. Did you hear that as well? Or?
Yes, I think so. That I've read about it. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think she put it like ahead of everything else, the rhythm, and then because if we compare some other translations, well, rhythmically they sound.
Yeah, so sometimes they are very, very different. Yeah. Yeah.
This is in the other one in August, very similar, right? The rhythm.
Yeah, but that August is actually translated by another translator.
Really?
Yeah, it's Lex.
It's Lydia Pasternak.
Later. Yeah.
August is a different translation.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, Winter Museum.
So maybe so is there anything you would like to say? But about this poem.
But so yeah, I like this poem and like the imagery of the wind and the wood and the yachts in the bay and then finally it's not the fury, it's the lullaby. The wind is awesome, but it's a memory of the poet, right? That you're saying.
Yes, it's comforting. Yeah. When we are reading this poem here, we still see these trees. Yeah.
We definitely
these pine trees. Yeah. Yes.
Later.
So, yes, we need to show you the pine trees. Yeah.
And this image was actually of great significance for Pasternak, and he several times it doesn't appear in his poetry. This idea of a ship, I guess, floating and sailing, and the wind and the trees, which look like masts. It's not the only one, and I do remember vividly the piece in the book, in the prose, where Живаго might be thinking about Lara, or maybe, I remember it's when they parted forever, closer to the end of the book, that he is left alone and he is thinking about the wind and the sea, and the imagery of sea appears. And it's peculiar because, it's interesting how Pasternak always returned to that image, because this house actually looks like a ship. And the ship sailing and the sea, they are actually old images which kind of go back to the idea of sailing into another life, like some other life, and this interesting how this actually combines together in Pasternak's prose, both prose and poetry. So that's
Yeah, and he has a few poems where you have these pine trees, and at the same time it's the sea bottom. Yeah.
Was he? Are you far from the sea, or was he? Did he go to the sea, or Pasternak, or some connection?
very rarely.
Yeah, well, as a child he would go to the Black Sea with his parents because they had attached at the Black Sea.
I just remembered that he had a very intense correspondence with Tsvetaeva in 1926, and she was at the time she was in some kind of a resort area in France or in Switzerland, was it? I don't remember, but she wrote to him that she's not the sea, so it's not her image, it's not her, I
Yes.
don't know, her
Element, maybe.
element,
Yeah,
it's not
uh-huh.
her element. And then she would continue talking about sea, writing about the seaside, and gradually kind of accepting it. So maybe that's why the analogy with now I understand, and it seems to me logical.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah, well, but also she has a lot of poems with the wind in it.
Yeah.
So she was a windy person, yeah. Yeah. Anything else? No? About this poem?
Yeah.
I think I really like this translation, particularly because there's this word "taska," which is notoriously difficult to translate. And here it says, and in taska, to find words for a lullaby song for you. And here I'm not sure about provide instead of find. I think is kind of different, and but I think like words of grief and longing is as close to like.
That's
You're gonna
Yes.
get in English. I think that's
So
really effective.
this specific Russian sense of grief and longing is called taska. Presumably you don't have it in other taska. Yeah, you don't have it in other countries. Yeah. Because,
different connotations.
Yeah.
You can use it in different
Right, so you can count translate it with one word. Yeah. Yeah, and right. So shall we move to August? Yeah. So let me check how long has it taken. Сколько времени прошло?
Yeah, I have.
So first of all, we need to ask Daniel. So, are you fine if we take August and after that we are all yours? Yeah, and we are going to listen to your poems and ask you questions. Is it okay?
Okay.
So.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah. Right. Are you okay if we go to August, or is it? I mean, if you need to go anywhere,
Okay, yes.
Right.
So we have two translations printed out, but apparently there's another one, but I didn't have time to print it out. So
Yes, I sent some translations to Daniel.
Right, yes, yeah, 3 of them. Yeah. For his sister and then 2 others. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And
shall we?
yes. So shall we read it first in Russian?
Russian comes always first in this
Yes.
language.
So would you like to read in Russian?
Oh no.
Oh, come on. You. Olga. Come on, Olga. We need a Russian speaker. Yes.
Обещала, не обманывая,
Да, мы
проникло
вместе.
солнце утром рано,
Then
косой
you,
полосой
you.
шафрановую.
Yes,
seriously.
Irina. Irina will read it.
Yes.
Please.
Okay. Right. Yes, it's very beautiful. It's my favorite.
Август.
Yeah.
Как обещала, не обманывая, проникло солнце утром рано, косою полосой шафрановую, от занавеси до дивана. Оно покрыло жаркой охрой соседний лес, дома поселка, мою постель, подушку мокрую и край стены за книжной полкою. Я вспомнил, по какому поводу слегка увлажнена подушка. Мне снилось, что ко мне на проводы шли по лесу вы друг за дружкой. Мы шли толпой, врозь и парами. Вдруг кто-то вспомнил, что сегодня 6 августа по-старому, преображение Господне. Обыкновенно свет без пламени исходит в этот день с фавора, и осень, ясная как знамение, к себе приковывает взора. И вы прошли сквозь мелкий, нищенский, сквозной трепещущий ольшаник, и в имбирно-красный лес кладбищенский, горевший, как печатный пряник. С притихшими его вершинами соседствовало небо важно, и голосами петушиными перекликалась даль протяжно. В лесу казенные землемершие стояла смерть среди погоста. смотря в лицо мое умершее, чтоб вырыть яму мне по росту. Был всеми ощутим физически спокойный голос чей-то рядом, то прежний голос мой правительский звучал, не тронутый распадом. Прощай, лазурь преображенская, и золото второго спаса, смягчи последней лаской женскую мне горечь рокового часа. Прощайте, годы безвременщину, простимся, бездни унижений, бросающий вызов женщина. Я — поле твоего сражения. Прощай, размах крыла расправленный, полета вольного упорства, и образ мира в слове явленный, и творчество, и чудотворство.
Beautiful.
Yes, it's a bit longish, might be. Yeah, might be not. Yeah. Do you like the story in the poem?
Well, it was in Russian. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes, of course. So I'm as always. Yes. So now we need to read it in English. Yeah. Daniel, maybe you could.
Can I read it? Can I?
Yeah, yes,
just a bit.
yes, of
Just
course,
a
yeah.
bit. Just a bit. Not
Yes,
like,
of course,
Daniel,
yeah.
we read it half and half, or someone else half and half. I just read it.
Sure.
Because there are words that I think that are so fascinating to me. When he says, "As was promised, so it happened." You know, I read this and I just stop and I cannot go on. As was promised, so it happened. The morning sun rose rather early, and then there are all these colors. Its sultry saffron beam fell slanted between the sofa and the curtain. It covered with its scorching red the village and the nearby wood, the dampened pillow and my bed, the corner where the bookshelf stood. Then I recalled what had been done to make my pillow moist. I ached. I dreamt in walking one by one across the forest to my wake. And while the crowd was proceeding, all of a sudden someone stirred. It was the 6th of August, meaning Transfiguration of our Lord. This day from Mount Tabor, often a flameless light burned through the skies. And autumn, like a lucid omen, draws to itself observant eyes. One by one, you rumbled, sighing, across the trembling grove, ahead into the graveyard that was shining, as though a russet gingerbread. Up there, up on silence tops, the royal sky was seated proud, and with the crowning of the clocks, the spacey distances rang out. And there you go.
There, like government surveyor, Death stood, and with her chilling eyes stared at my face, so ghostly pale, to estimate my casket's size. All since someone, so calm and poised, and heard his voice from where I lay. It was my own prophetic voice that spoke, untouched by the decay. Farewell, the blue transfiguration. Farewell, the gold of festive blessings. Come soothe this hopeless desperation with gentle, womanly caresses. Farewell, the years and timeless chase. Farewell, the women who confront the voids of sorrow and disgrace. I am the field on which you fought. Farewell, the wingspan and the reach. Farewell, the free, persistent soaring, and world's reflection caught in speech, creative work and wonder working.
Ugh. Right. What was it? Was it the same translation? No?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were
Yes,
parts of
it's-
the parts of the same translation. Yeah. Yeah. Did you like the story in the poem?
You know, the way it starts, as I said, as was promised, so it happened, and then all this long farewell, this detachment that he's doing, that's very touching. Very, very touching.
Yeah.
Always-
Did you realize that it all happened in that room upstairs? Yeah. We also
Yeah.
need to show it to Daniel, the room upstairs. Yeah.
We always cited quote it upstairs because it's you know
It's the same
exactly
window,
the same furniture
yeah,
and everything.
the same furniture, the same bed, yes, the same
Uh-huh.
bookcase, yeah.
And the view,
Uh-huh.
the view, because
Uh-huh.
when he was there, there was no, there were no trees. They were smaller, shorter, and then there was no new settlement. or,
There was a
neighborhood.
field, yeah,
This
there
is
was
all
a field.
very-
And there was this little church of Transfiguration of the Savior,
Uh-huh.
which
Yes.
was smaller than the current one
Uh-huh.
and very beautiful with gilded domes, and the view was spectacular.
Yeah, and Daniel, and I sent you 2 links. Yeah, the first is to it's
Right, the first we read this one, yeah, we read one of them,
yeah, yes.
And the other one's a bit different.
The icons of
This
transfiguration.
one has the rhyming lines,
Uh-huh.
and then the other is not. Other one maybe is more modern translation, I think, because it's not rhyming. It's kind of more free verse kind of.
We don't have the
So yeah, I like the second one actually better than this one.
So
The other one I
the
think
second one, which reads, can you just read the
As
first
promised
one?
without deception,
Uh-huh.
the sun passed through in early morning in a slanting saffron stripe from the curtained sofa. Yeah, it's different. I think I like that. I like both of them, but I like the modern one rather than the rhyming.
Is it actually more modern?
Some of the imagery is a bit different. Yeah.
That second one you just read is much closer to the Russian.
and we don't have it.
Which one is?
The one you
The
just
second one.
read. It's much closer.
Yeah, we haven't printed it out yet, and well, that's a pity. What can I say? Yeah, well, because it'll take another 5 minutes to print it out here.
So
Okay, yeah, but
In my ignorance, I'm happy with this, with this translation.
yeah.
Sometimes
Now
ignorance is the
I've just Daniel, I've just sent you 2 other links. Like and one link.
yeah, that one link you are talking about we don't have, but we do have this.
No, I mean not to poems, just to pictures. Yeah, for you to see Russian icons of transfiguration. Can you see this? No, I mean that I sent you this link. Yeah, to show that so the Russian icon of transfiguration. Yeah, it's very bright. Yeah, it's very colorful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. Yeah, lots of gold. Yeah, and yeah, and he says the 6th of August. It's old style. Yeah, and actually it's the 19th of August. Yeah, and normally the weather here is very bright on these days. Yeah, so lots of golden leaves, yeah, and brownish golden. Yeah, well sometimes.
Well,
sometimes.
actually,
Yeah.
I've always thought about this one, this piece exactly where he mentions the, the golden leaves and everything. I can't really understand this because I've never seen golden leaves or reddish or like, brownish during summer.
I mean,
Maple?
Yes, yeah, sorry. I thought that he was thinking about maples, yeah, well, because they are usually, they become yellow, yeah, and some trees become brownish, yeah, earlier than others. Yeah, and well, я сильно тоже забыла слово.
Ash tree.
Yes, and so ash trees, well, they become, right, so some types of ash tree, they become brownish, yeah, and so this is how I see it. I mean, this association to the icon, and the second line is to what in translation you have gingerbread, yes? It's not exactly gingerbread, it's Russian печатный пряник, yeah,
Which is brown.
yes, it's glazed, and it's yellowish brownish, and it's very nice.
Well, it's darker
Uh-huh.
than
And
the gingerbread,
delicious.
actually.
Uh-huh.
Is it?
Yes, it's darker than gingerbread. Yeah, and it has, yeah, well, usually kind of relief on it. Yeah, glazed relief.
So this vision of his own death, was this part something in at the end of Dr. Живаго? Is this something totally separate? This poem?
Well, it's very interesting. Yeah, well, because it's somehow connected. Yeah, with Живаgo's death. Yeah, and of course, reading this poem, you think about Живаgo's death. But when Живаgo died, there were no people. Yeah, you remember. Yeah, that there were only strangers in the street. But it looks much more like Pasternak's own funeral. Yeah, and yes, yeah, because like I just said,
And then there's one difference in the end. Well, the two translations. One is farewell the women who confront the voice of sorrow and disgrace. The other one is let's say goodbye, oh woman, who hurls a challenge to others of humiliation. So one poem translated sounds like one woman, maybe Laura or something. With a woman's parting caress. The other one's with gentle womanly caresses, and then the women. So it's a little bit different feeling than one woman.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because in the original poem, there is only one woman. That's significant. And also, it should be mentioned that, by the way, talking about how much actually is more Pasternak than Живаго, is that the 6th of August is mentioned. And the 6th of August is a very memorable date for Pasternak because when he was an adolescent, 13 years old, he fell down from a horse and broke a hip, which never healed correctly. And he had to spend like some 2 months in bed trying to heal. And while he was doing so, he was thinking about art and about music because previously he had heard Scriabin perform and write some of his pieces, and he fell in love with the personality of Scriabin and with music, and thus this was like maybe some kind of death and then a resurrection to art for a 13-year-old boy, and this date is here, the 6th of August.
Yeah. Yeah, but going back to the question of one woman or many, yeah. But I'm not sure that in the Russian version, yeah, the бросающий вызов женщинам, that it's about one woman. Yeah, it's like,
abstract.
yeah, not abstract, but it's собирательное. Yeah, so collective, collective noun. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, because of course, you might say that Lara is Ivinskaya, yeah, well, but.
But it's all
I
on the
think it's
surface.
obvious, but of course he was thinking about many women,
Yeah,
and
there are layers.
and it was his idea that women are sufferers by nature. Yeah, so they and so
I stopped liking Pasternak less
no,
and less.
he wasn't exactly a feminist. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it all stemmed
You
from
see, people
his...
could get away with these things in those times, and then they were also heroes on top.
Well, it was all stemmed in his childhood.
This imagery of death. So I mean, this is totally off the topic, but in Japan, August is the month when the dead return or gone. And like about a week after August 6th, but that's when Japanese think the spirits of the dead ancestors return home and for a few days, and so it's August. If you see August, Japan mentioned in the poems or something, then it's also the association with the dead or with, the spirits.
Wow. Yeah. So we have another connection.
Here.
Yeah.
Until
Unexpected. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if you have it in English, but in Russian it's also a bit of a child's vision. Yeah, well, because this gingerbread is pryanik. Yeah, and and also this kind of self-pitying, a bit of self-pitying here. Yeah, I think a child could, an adult child could write this poem. Yes,
Yeah.
it's very touching and beautiful. Yeah.
Mhm.